About a year ago, I heard about NFTs. I just was like, this is crazy. This is so cool. If the first round is not going well, it's really hard to recover from that. Moody Mushrooms. So these guys, they made it so that if you play their game, you can increase the rarity of your NFT. All sorts of like things that are gonna be in the metaverse is actually being advertised by these NFT brands. They're gonna have a hard time actually selling their NFTs.
Welcome to Amigospc. If you were looking for a podcast with high standards and an appreciation for the finer things in life, like water polo, ballet, equestrian riding, cricket, and trips to the countryside, you're in the wrong place. If you're looking for a podcast that celebrates drinking, random thoughts, wacky conspiracies, memes, crypto, cinema, and a lot of other things that don't really make any sense, then you're in the right place. This is Amigospc, and here are your hosts, Scott and Mark.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! You're hearing this for a reason. You haven't subscribed to the Amigos membership on Super Cash yet. For as little as $5, you can get access to our feed with no ads, and exclusive membership discounts and merch.
Jump up to our $3 tier, plus direct access to us via our Discord channel, live games, AMAs, quarterly giveaways, crypto burger, for $1 a day or less.
Amigos back at it again. Today we have guest Arvin Khamseh. Probably butchered it as I did prior to this, us going live. You are an NFT marketer, or at least you have a skill on Fiverr where you do NFT marketing, where you can pay for the services, obviously. I noticed here that you put into your bulletin, having worked with 100 plus NFT brands, including Meta Legends, which sold out, you can confidently say that you can help make your NFT launch a huge success. I have like all the questions because we are starting to roll into NFTs and things like that, and we are like, we're issuing a project, I guess you could say, or that's probably the wrong word to use. But before we get into that, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Give us some insight. Like, how did you get into, are you into all marketing, or is like NFT really your specialty?
Sounds good. Yeah, so I started marketing in 2012, and then over the past, I want to say 3 or 4 years, I started actually working with a lot of public companies with their investor relationship stuff. So they would basically, let's say it's a public company, they want short-term or long-term investors basically buy in their stock and then also hold on to it, right? So that was my objective with these public companies. And then typically what I was doing was basically having maybe 100 to 500, 1,000 a month advertising and spending, and these guys would just spend it everywhere on all social media platforms, native platforms. So I was the one managing this for them. And when about a year ago I heard about NFTs, I just was like, this is crazy. This is so cool. And at the time, I just told my sister, I didn't have the time to actually look into it. At the time, I just told my sister, I said, hey, here's some money. Go and just buy some NFTs because I know this is going to be huge. And, we just like, you basically be my portfolio manager. And so that's how we started. And like just flipping NFTs back then. And then about, I want to say a month ago, actually 2 months ago, back in like November, I just had this client that they wanted me to run some ads for their NFT, and they got, they sold out a bunch of their NFT artwork. This was like a small artist. And then I was like, this is really cool. I didn't even know we can just, get into advertising NFTs, and like the methodology that I had worked out, and just a lot of things I did with public companies with their investor relationship and stuff just really translated into NFT marketing. And so I was like, this is really cool. And so I just like basically put a gig on like a bunch of these freelancing platforms. And then I want to say in about a month and a half, I got to work with somewhere around 192 NFT projects. And lots of them, these guys were all just trying to like actually launching, let's say December. Some of them did, and some of them are like now launching in January. So like January is like their new December for a lot of these brands.
Okay. I know you made mention of Meta Legend. Are there any other notable ones that you can disclose right this second?
Yeah, there's another one in December. It's called San Vegas Casino Club.
Okay.
And so these guys have a casino in the Metaverse. They just actually yesterday or the day before they bought 3x3 land I think it's in Sandbox if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so they're gonna have a casino, and then actually they're gonna be able to give 50% of their profit of the casino to their NFT holders every month.
Isn't that amazing? Like some of these projects are coming out, and the utility that they're providing is actually just paying out dividends for the most part. I guess you could kind of label it that. Their NFT, their profits basically.
Yeah, it's crazy. And actually, utility is like a really big thing in NFTs. So, I mean, cultural reference and then also utility. I mean, I don't know if I want to like name the brand that I bought some NFTs from, but there's basically this NFT project. I bought a bunch of NFTs and there's zero utility, right? So and then they tell people, they're like, I mean, I actually made money flipping the NFTs, but they're telling people like, we're going to give you t-shirts, and like, I'm like, what? Like, how is that going to make people want to hold on to your NFTs, right? So like, not really like thinking things through as far as like, by the way, it's a big brand, but anyways, so.
Yeah, they didn't think about it too far. So that's one of the things when I said I have all the questions, because we are in the process of dabbling on making our own or creating our own NFT. We're working with an artist and things like that.
And we do have some though currently.
I know marketing. Yeah, I know marketing is going to be like a huge piece of that. Would you have any like pointers maybe, or just any type of advice for someone that's like thinking about or starting a project that would have to engage into some marketing to hone their I don't know, avenue, their clients, basically their audience?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things I can tell you, but basically, so NFTs on their own, they don't have any value. Like even the ones that like they look beautiful to just collect, they still don't have any value until the community decides they have value, right? So the community is a really big piece of the NFT projects. And so when I work with brands, I tell them the number one goal is to have you want to have 3 to 5 times the number of your collectibles on Discord. So let's say a lot of people go after like doing 10,000 collectibles, and let's say you've got 10,000 artwork, you want to have somewhere around 30 to 50,000 people in your Discord to be able to sell out.
Wow. Okay.
All right, we're like 4 people short, so that's cool. That's good.
Right.
Yeah, 4 people.
We'll get them. We'll get them, Mark. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's almost
there.
So would you say that like the artwork itself like has a small factor, but it's not like really the only factor when marketing these like an NFT and things like that?
Yeah, so I tell people there are 2 different ways there are 2 directions in launching an NFT project. You either go in something like, the Top Shots, like NBA Top Shots, or like something that's just like a premium from the start, right? So you auction something that's has like inherently is premium, okay? So those kind of stuff, typically you don't have a lot of them. You don't need a lot of people in your Discord communities, and they already have some value. So for example, one of the things I'm actually gonna do is trying to think how much of it I want to say actually now. So one of the things I'm trying to do is it's very similar to the NBA Top Shots, but it's in the bodybuilding. Now I'm gonna do it with someone who has who's a former Mr. Canada. I guess I've said everything about this project. So anyways, but like that's the thing. So if you go in that direction, you don't need to have a lot of artwork, but also you don't need as much to build up in your community. But then the typical direction that people take is having maybe 2,000, 5,000, or 10,000. A lot of people, just because of, I think it was like Cyberpunk or some brand that did first 10,000, everyone wants to do 10,000.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, that direction is all about building your community. Now, so the artwork itself is not as important. Again, I don't want to name like the brands, but there's some brands out there like in the top 10. Their artwork is not anything that like pleasing to look at, but they have like cultural reference, for example, right? Or they have like utility that is just amazing, and then you just buy it. Like I didn't even like. There was one project specifically. Again, don't want to name it, but it's about. I want to see if it's just easily identifiable or not. It's about the values like for like the females in the society, right? And then I just looked at the artwork and I was like, this is not really something I would buy. I don't think it's that good. But the cultural reference, how relevant it is to the trends right now, is something that I was like, okay, this would make sense at least to flip it, right? So at least to buy it and just like sell it at a later time because it's gonna go up because it's relevant. Now, since then, there are a bunch of other projects. Like one in specific I'm working with is called Crypto Woman. So they are doing way better job in terms of artwork than their counterparts. And so is the art itself important? I think it is. Especially it's important if you just go in the auction route. It has to be premium. It has to be amazing, right? So because people are gonna pay a lot of money for it. But if it's not, if it's just like, even if it's just like average, hopefully it's not just an ape at this point because we've done that many times. But like, as long as it's just average and you have a great community and great utility, you're going to be able to sell out and people can get behind that idea.
What are some utility basics that you see with projects that you work with that really stand out?
Cool. I mean, I heard plenty of them. So one of the things, I actually listened to your podcast. You guys were talking about you do mining yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there are a bunch of projects out there that they like. One of them in particular, they're gonna buy lots of these mining computers, put it in Iceland. I guess it's because it's cold.
Smart.
And then every month they're gonna give some like a monthly, like a kind of monthly like it's gonna be an asset. So they're gonna be monthly payments to all their NFT holders, right? So I thought that was really cool because if you think about it, like a lot of like NFTs, they're at the like, especially the ones that are like maybe on ETH or so, they're about the price point is somewhere around, let's say $500 at least at the floor price when they start, like to mint and to start. Now, even if you just get like, I don't know, let's say $50 a month from an NFT, holding an NFT every month, right? You're gonna be able to pay that investment back. You're gonna get ROI positive fairly quick, right? And you're gonna, so these brands, they actually promise a lot more than $50 a month. But I just calculated for myself. I was like, hey, even if they just do horribly, like in terms of their marketing, even if they just don't do, like they don't even accomplish half of the things that they're saying, they're still going to be able to pay you whatever they do every month. It's going to be an asset, right? So that kind of utility is like really cool. The casino that I mentioned, San Vegas Casino Club, I like that they're going to be able to pay because, okay, so Metaverse is going to be big, right? And a lot of people are going to be playing in the casino in the Metaverse, and so as many other things they're going to be doing. But if they're going to, pay something every month to their holders, I think that's like really cool, right? So it's like you immediately going to be ROI positive regardless of, what you're going to do. So those are like some really cool things. But then, of course, like, their exclusive memberships, the parties, the people you get to meet, like some people like promising, like you get to meet like a lot of like celebrities. But I typically go after the ones that are just like giving monetary values. Like that's what I like. I think that's just, and then also the ones that they have something to back it up to, and this is part of the good marketing, is like people come up with these like very vague roadmaps where they say like, we're gonna do this thing and that thing. And one of the things like I specifically told, for example, San Vegas Casino Club was like, hey, if you're gonna do this big thing where you're gonna have a casino, people gonna be like, hey, where is the casino? Like, have you even made an offer on like Sandbox or Decentraland to actually have a place for the casino, right? So it's one thing to just put it in your roadmap, be like, we're gonna be a casino and we're gonna pay you all these things, but like, have you thought it through, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna do that? So yeah, so there's like plenty of utilities I've seen. You know, there's another one. They essentially, you get to travel. Like they pay for your traveling a bunch of times around the world.
Wow.
Although apparently that project didn't go quite well. I heard a few days ago they actually didn't deliver on their promises, and apparently they're just gonna their leader or CEO, whatever, they stepped down, and then the community actually they decided to take over and actually see if they can take that project somewhere. But
wow.
Yeah, I mean, any utility that actually is gonna be delivered, I think that's awesome. Really.
So, as someone that's creating, like they're new to the space, let's just say an artist that decided that they're going to launch a project and they have this utility, like what would be like the best way to convey that as a marketing standpoint for someone that just they've never done it before?
So how do they do the marketing? What's your question?
What would be, I guess, a tip for someone that's never done this, right? How do they convey the message as a marketing standpoint?
I see. Yeah, so that's very important.
Conditioning your services, obviously. So just a tip.
No, perfect. That's actually very important. So with every brand I work with, I come up with a one-liner where, for example, for San Vegas Club, it was, the house always wins and you can be the house.
Ooh, I like
right?
that. Nice.
That's actually really good.
That's good.
Right. So like every brand should have like that crypto mining brand that I work with. We would say like, this is going to be the first ever NFT that's going to be considered as an asset, right? So every brand should have like one liner, like whatever their, I guess, the value is, right? And if they don't have something like that, their artwork better be really good, because then it's just going to be hard, because everyone has some art right now, right? So it's good to have something that's just, you can say, hey, we're either the first one or better than the other ones. You know? So how they come up with their messaging, I think one exercise could be just like, they could ask the community, be like, hey, to this project, like, which one do you really like? Or if you were to like remove all of them but just keep one, which one would it be, right? And so, I mean, obviously it's good because you create some engagement in your Discord and Twitter. That's awesome. But also, like, you get to see what's really really cool about your project. Because especially the newbies, when they come into NFTs, they typically, the way they do their roadmaps is they find a roadmap of a project that's like they really like, and they kind of copy it and just change it to, like, basically they make it their own, right? But then every now and then they come up with something unique for themselves. Like, for example, one brand, one of the brands I work with is called Panther Ego. So they're gonna actually, if you hold the NFT, they're gonna actually do like tattoos for you. Like, it's like a really premium tattoo, right? But it's like a physical thing. It's kind of cool. And if you're really into it, the person who does it, like the actual founder of the project, he's like some influencer with like tattoo artists, right? So people like really dig that, right? So if people just that they're even like mildly interested in just seeing like artwork on people's bodies, like tattoos, they're gonna be like really interested in that, like that kind of utility, right? So having something that, so first of all, just like seeing like what other people have done and just getting some ideas, but then asking community and just figuring out, just be like, what is that one thing that's just so special about your brand, and then just make all your marketing about that. because the worst type of marketing for NFT right now, like, I mean, if you guys see on like, let's say Facebook ads or Instagram ads, you may see a lot of like people just saying, we've got 2,222 artwork. It's gonna be in the metaverse, blah blah blah. It's just like, okay, so as everyone else, right? So at this point, like everyone's doing the same thing, so it has to be something like different. So
we have, because we've been dabbling a little bit, and you know, we've opened up a couple NFTs that we have for just auction. You can just buy it right on OpenSea, and like the utility behind like one of our projects is basically if you buy our NFT, the funds of that go into a pot, and then we turn around and try to sweep the floor of a project.
Nice.
I've seen a couple other projects that try to do this, but I noticed that like these projects, they try to separate themselves with like lotteries and things like that. Have you seen a project that has done that that's been like super successful? You don't have to name any project. I just need to see if you've seen one that's done that.
Yeah, so I think there's some problems about staking when it comes to like giving money back to people. So I think SEC like is not very fond of that, and so I think that's probably why you don't see it as much.
Yeah,
I think one brand in particular is Lazy Lions. I think I heard that they do that, and they found a way to do this. It's really funny, a lot of these brands that you see that they're giving some sort of money back to their NFT holders, or any types of investment, like a monthly investments, they're typically not in the US. So they're actually like, they're some other country.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, just because like legally it's just not okay. But yeah, I think that's one brand that I've seen. And then I think I have actually two other brands that they're just about to launch. They both they're actually just looking for those like loopholes to be able to just actually make it happen without getting in trouble legally. So I think that's the part. It's just people, I think they get hung up about the legal side of things. So that's probably why there's not that many. But I think Lazy Lion is the only one that I've heard that they've actually like.
Okay.
But I really like the idea that you guys doing, like, you know, so because a lot of times it's all about like the community anyways. So if you can make it so that, you know, the community will decide on the price of some project, and then they all buy into it, and then they go in and just, you know, like buying something else with the money that you guys collected. I think that's really cool. Like I think it's just very appreciated from the communities. That's very close to the actual idea of actually building communities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you said that your favorite are asset-based type NFTs, so something that can actually pay you some form of return. I don't want to like say like, you know, because you kind of went into depth with like some of the ones that you went into, but with those ones, because it's similar to like what we just explained with, you know, giving out, you know, going in, sweeping the floor, providing NFTs back to people, that, you know, someone paying not dividends, but paying out, you know, their mining profits, I guess you could say. Like, would that still fall in that same category?
For legally, or?
Yeah, so essentially, like, because you're saying like a lot of these ones that are giving out
part of their mine, right, or their whatever they're mining, or
they're giving out their mine. Like, we're trying to return NFTs to other people. You know,
yeah, I would say so. I would say yours is considered as an asset, because then people can buy all these like other things with it, and then maybe they want to flip those. You know, maybe you guys just like allow. Yeah, and also like sometimes, I mean, I say like monetary value. Sometimes it's also just like people, there's some people out there, they just really want to like pay a lot of money to like some charity, but they never actually had the tools or vehicles to do that. And then all of a sudden, like because of some NFT, for example, one brand is in particular, like I consulted recently, it's called Crypto Titties.
Oh.
Ashley D, yes.
Yeah. And so like they gave like 100 ETH to to cancer, like breast cancer, right? So that's pretty cool. Like that community just caused that, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that too. Like sometimes people just get excited about just like their money going into some charity too. It doesn't have to be their own pocket, but yes, to answer your question, I would say so. I would say it's considered as an asset.
Okay. So with go ahead,
I
Scott.
was gonna say, did we ever end up buying some of those crypto kitties, or did we not?
We do. Yeah, we have acquired at least
Nice.
one.
All right.
Cool.
I mean, yeah. Typically, what happens is I see these projects, right, that are coming out and things like that, and the next thing I'm doing is I'm sharing it to my buddy Scott here, like, hey, because we're mining together, so we're trying to find ways to capitalize on this mining that we're doing, right? And reinvest it in different things. Like we've done one. I don't want to name shout a bunch of them, but like, you know, Crypto Titties is one of them, and These Nuts, which I guess works in a sexual realm of body
just
parts
body
at
part
this point,
NFT.
but yeah, just body parts of things. They're doing the utility that they're providing, from what I see at least, I like and enjoy. And the one thing great about like Ashley is she engages with her community. So she's doing these posts and things like that, and then you're responding back. She's making a lot of, I guess you call it shit posting, but it's fun, it's engaging. There's even another one out there that's like a chair NFT, and it's basically just a picture of 10,000 different
Chairs.
folding
Nice.
chairs.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And kind of the same thing, like, you know, they're doing charity things and they're shit posting Twitter and things like that, and, you know, building their community. You said here today, like, community is like one of the bigger things, especially if you're going to be doing a larger project of 10,000. So that actually, because one of the projects that we are working on right now that's not out and we haven't really given too much detail beyond the artists that we're working with, we were thinking like, okay, maybe we should do 10,000. And now it sounds like maybe not, because, you know, a smaller project might generate more value than doing something large.
Yeah, so what I tell people typically, like, you know, one of the brands I work with that were 12,000, they just on their budget for just Twitter alone, Twitter ads was like 40K a day.
Wow.
Right? And I think people sometimes like not knowing these things happening in the background, and they're thinking, well, why can't we just do the same thing? You know, it's just like, well, because they're like a huge company,
Yeah.
right? You know, that's why. But also, like, I would say what I've been telling people to do, and I think this, like, I may be the only person that's actually liking this idea. I've never heard this before, and some people also don't like it. Some people disagree. I like people to do, let's say, 2,000, 3,000 first for their first actual drop, and then do it in seasons. So, like, let's say if you have 10,000 in mind, do 2,000 first, and then do maybe another 4,000, and then, you know, the rest. Versus first round doing 10,000, because if the first round is not going well, it's really hard to recover from that with your communities. Versus if it does go well, and even if it's small, then it will be amazing, because then now you just build the trust with your community, and then now you can really easily build on that, right? Because so here's the thing people, I think, need to actually pay attention to. The biggest fear investors, and I'm sure you saying you invested in NFTs, so you may have just thought about this yourself. The biggest fear is this brand going to be a rug pull, right? Are they just going to cash out and then disappear from the face of the earth? And then, or sometimes it's also just like when they're very small and the artist is just like so like emotionally driven with their art, like, are they just gonna not have a good time like one day and just be like, well, you know, just screw this project, like, I'm just gonna do something else.
You would think
now.
that'd be a lot of,
and by the way, that happened.
Be a lot of artists.
Yeah, and so actually that happened to some project my sister just invested in. The artist just decided one day, was like, nah, actually I don't like this anymore. This is too much work. And then so just like, you know, called out the whole thing. Wow. But so if someone could just come up with a project that's just, you know, manageable amount in the first round, and then just have really well thought, you know, like really elaborate roadmaps, but also just like really thought it through, and then just deliver on that. That would just be really simple way to just do whatever you want at that point with that community. Like at that point, you can just be like, we've got 20,000, and people would be like really all over it. You know what I mean?
You make mention of that, and I've actually seen that firsthand in some of these Discord communities. There was a project that just recently launched. I'm not going to roll them under the bus or anything, but they, had a lot of hype, did very good. The artwork looked good, kind of playing on, Marvel and some other things. Not really, not blatantly, but like, there was a play on it you could see, and it looked like a really good project. The community was, engaging. It was large. A lot larger. I don't want to say like a lot larger, but it was like one of these bigger projects at large, and it started its mint, and the mint didn't go as planned. That could be like, I'm sure there were multiple things that went into play with that, but the market, things, especially right now, like things are just not pleasant, I guess you could say. It's pretty post-apocalyptic for the most part for somebody that's like really dived in.
In crypto?
Yeah, in crypto.
The market's a little down today.
Yeah. Yesterday, the day before.
Past couple days. Yeah.
It's just red everywhere.
I just look at it one day at a time. So it's one day of crap, even though the past couple days have been crap. Yeah. It's the only way to stay afloat.
Do you see that being like a large factor with some of the clients that you dealt with, like that? Because I know you said that like some of them launched in December, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, we're gonna hold off a second, and maybe January is gonna be our month. Do they have those conversations with you about like, okay, well, we got to plan this too around the market and kind of what's going on?
Yeah, I think the reason I think a bunch of reasons why a lot of people wanted to do in December, but one of them was mistakenly, I think a lot of people who get into NFTs, they haven't actually done any internet marketing before, so they don't really have an idea of what this is about, or like building communities. These are all new things, and then their point of reference is like that 12-year-old girl who in 3 days made like $10 million or whatever, right? And they're like, well, we can do the same thing too. Like, we're better than that 12-year-old. And then we have like, we've done like maybe we made $1,000 on the internet before. So then this means like we can do this thing too, right? So there was that part of that. Like, I've heard a lot of that where people were like, we've got like, this is our idea. We're thinking maybe like 6 days is good to launch this. I'm like, really? Like, you want to launch this in 6 days? Like, there are people in the internet marketing world. They've been, hustling for like 5 years. Now they're just gotten to the point where they actually make enough money to pay their bills. You know what I mean? And then you just never done anything in the internet world, and you want to like make $3 million in like 1 day. And then the marketing plan that you have is like 6 days. It's like, how is that ever like a logical thing? So there's a part of that, but also like a lot of people were worried about how like, let's say Ethereum and Solana may just suddenly drop, or like it may actually go up a lot, and then no one wants to buy NFTs maybe at that point because of gas fees and everything. So there was a lot of uncertainty around like what's gonna happen at the end of December. And so a lot of brands were like, and also it's really funny. So, I mean, you've been telling Scott about like, what NFTs to buy. So the word of mouth in the NFT community is actually very strong. Weirdly enough, everything is about all Metaverse and like virtual stuff. And you would think like word of mouth is just so like traditional, but word of mouth is actually very strong. A lot of people don't have the time to research things, so they just listen to their friends and like people who are around them, right? So I think a lot of these brands, they would just kind of like, it was just like a self-perpetuating idea that they were saying like, if they don't like launch by December, then they may not be successful, right? And then they would tell each other too. And like a lot of people would come to me, they were like, oh no, we have to do this in December. And really there's like zero reasons for that. But I think a lot of them were thinking, okay, what if there's like a huge change in the price for especially like Ethereum, and then that may be like mess with their project, and their launch date. So for that reason, a lot of people wanted to do in December, just finish it, and then some people did. But a lot of those people realized, it actually takes more than like 5 to 6 days to market something like that, and then so they've postponed it to January.
Yeah.
So end of January, a lot of these projects gonna mint.
Nice.
Timing obviously is crucial with everything. So with marketing NFTs, and you brought up gas, which happens to be a very hot topic, especially this day and age with NFT video games and the NFT OpenSea itself, Polygon kind of messing up and their gas fees kind of going crazy, which isn't supposed to be happening. The true factor for Polygon is to eliminate or bring it to next to nothing for Ethereum gas. Have you seen projects because of these things start to gravitate towards different blockchains like Solana or Ravencoin or things like that?
Yeah, so there's definitely an influx of people going away from Ethereum because of the gas, and then going toward like Solana. And it's also, Solana is just way more like, I guess they figured out a lot of things that Ethereum didn't. And so there is definitely that. But then outside Solana and Ethereum, any other NFT that's just like, let's say any NFT that's based out of like maybe XRP or something else that's not Solana or Ethereum, they're gonna have a hard time actually selling their NFTs, just because they're gonna have actually multiple problems. One is gonna be, well, first of all, US and Canada, they're very behind in NFTs to begin with, right? And so as actually many other countries as well. It's like, I think the top ones are like China, Hong Kong, and then Philippines. So Philippines, just because of this game Axie Infinity, they play a lot of that game. So anyways, I think, so there's that. People don't know, first of all, what NFTs are still. And then if you have your NFTs that's just based out of like some coin that people don't know, then you have two things to explain to people.
True.
You have the NFT and the coin itself as well. And then people, like most people have like maybe like MetaMask, but then, or maybe they have like Phantom wallet as well, but then that's it, right? So those are the ones that actually like is popular and most people know about. So for that reason, I think majority of NFT brands, at least I've been encouraging them not to go outside Ethereum and Solana, one of the two, right? So that's it. But then, the gas fee is also like one of the things people do, of course, is whitelisting. So projects allow you essentially, so whitelisting, for people who don't know, is basically pre-approving your wallet so you can mint at an earlier date than the public. So it's like maybe 1 or 2 days before. So that allows you to, maybe if you want to just like mint at, let's say 2 to 4 a.m. or maybe sometime that's just like gas is low, whatever that is for you, right? Then that would allow you to do that. So then you don't have to pay these like crazy amount of gas fees for transactions.
That's actually how we got one of our These Nuts ones, because we got whitelisted, went through all the steps to make sure that we actually got solidified right in, and then waited for the moment. Late at night, 3:30 in the morning, click. Well, it was a video game we had to play to actually get into mint process. But yeah, and which that's unique too. Like all these projects are getting different ways or different styles of trying to avoid like the bots and things like that, and just basically scams. Like These Nuts did a video game where you had to play like this car was driving you up and down, and you had to get into the little parking space at the end exactly. You could not get into mint.
Is that right?
Nice.
Yeah, I think that there's just like a lot of, maybe that could be like sold off as like extra utility. It's like, look, we're already starting off fun. Like, look, this is a fun thing to do just for you to mint. Even though for me it was very frustrating because I had to do it multiple
3 in the morning, you got one eye open.
But yeah, 3 in the morning, and I'm like trying to
Park a car,
drive this. Yeah,
that's hilarious. Yeah, there is actually, speaking of like utilities, another one that reminded me of Moody Mushrooms. So these guys, they made it so that if you play their game, you can increase the rarity of your NFT. So practically, you can buy their NFT for whatever, let's say the floor price, and then you can just like hit the high score and then flip it for like a larger amount, and then just like make money.
Wow,
pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so in their video game, you hit a high score, and you're able to buy another NFT. Like they give you.
No,
they just changed the
your guy's
MetaMask.
worth more.
So the metadata of your NFT, so the rarity increases.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
That's smart.
A whole new thing. Like I didn't. So basically, they're changing. You get to keep your NFT, and they're just changing like the characteristics of it, increasing the rarity. But if you did something like that, then you wouldn't have to really even do a large project like 10,000 or 9,999, whatever. You could do like 1,500 of them and be like, look, you play this video game, you get up to XYZ, you know, your 0.069 floor priced mushroom could be worth, 4 ETH within time or something, something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's
cool.
Yeah, I never even thought of that. And I know I've heard of that project, but I didn't realize that. And that's another thing too. Like you were talking about how you have to explain your project, and like if you're on a different blockchain, you now have to explain that blockchain and how to get access to it, right? A lot of people, from at least my experience in learning this on my own, and my adventure with Scott here in dabbling into NFTs, is like nobody knows. Like if you can get to MetaMask for the most part, you're that much further already ahead of people. But I mean, the people that do know obviously know, and they find the legit projects because they're taking advantage of it. Like you said, that girl made millions of dollars on one NFT just because of launching one. And it sounds like, especially with what you said earlier, that's becoming like the thing that everybody's expecting. Like, I'm just gonna post this and I'm gonna make an.
Yeah, it's just like just like YouTube.
I hate that so much.
It's like YouTube.
I hate that so much. And it's just so bad. Like it's just because they don't like. I think, and social media does that too. Like, and also they also like make it even worse. So like, let's say someone like does actually make effort to do something on social media. They go and be like, no, this was very easy. I just got lucky. And then just because that just makes it more appealing to people on social media, literally just because of that, and then it makes it even worse. Like people have these really weird expectations, and then it just becomes these pipe dreams. But like going back to like what you were saying, also I've noticed that there are going to be a lot of gaming NFTs in the upcoming, year. We're already in the new year, but yeah, in 2022, like there's going to be a lot of gaming, and it just seems like 2D is completely out, and then 3D is just like it's okay, like there's some still there, but there's going to be just many games. But then the weird part about that is, so I do a lot of, let's say, Twitter ads. I have a partnership with Twitter where I can actually, like, I have reps and like we can actually run ads. But the thing is, Twitter at the moment, they don't even approve any gaming brands for running NFT ads. And so that's actually a really weird thing. Like the direction that the NFT is going is just going to be a lot of gaming, and then Twitter, which is the main platform where you can promote your NFT content, they're actually not really favorable of that move. So just really weird. But they may change their ideas.
What do you think about that? 'Cause for someone like me, like I am not a huge fan of VR, and I know that Facebook now is getting into the Metaverse, and they're trying to do like this whole Oculus thing since they recently acquired them, and NFTs are trying to take advantage of that from what it looks like. I know it's going to be big, right? The whole thing with what Zuckerberg's doing in this metaverse, but I still feel like there's a large crowd that's similar, like myself and Scott, to where, like, you're not going to catch me do VR. I have it for the PlayStation now, and I rarely do it. I just don't think it's there, and I don't think Facebook is going to be the one to bring it there either.
We've missed the boat. Basically,
so?
that's the sad thing. It's for the younger folks, man. That's the crappy thing. We missed the boat.
Yeah, but also it's like interesting because apparently the Oculus thing with Facebook and Metaverse, this is not new. Apparently this happened in 2014 or 2016 where they acquired the Oculus. They've been using it apparently since then, and then now they're just actually like introducing it to people. So I think part of it is just because Facebook has, I think, 3 or 4 billion users, and so because it has so many users, is inevitable that move that's going to like take over. Like everyone's gonna actually play some sort of like farmland. Was it Farmwild? Yeah, Farmwild or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
I've never played,
Yeah.
but I know. Yeah, in the real life, right? So I think it's just inevitable. But I also think like it's very interesting that like NFTs going so fast that like even social media platforms cannot keep up. Like it's really weird from like the side of like Twitter to be like, hey, we're gonna have many more gaming NFTs, but we just cannot. Because a lot of game, and the reason for that, by the way, is just because the play to earn side of the business. That's the part that they have trouble with. And so, but it's just really interesting because like and this is happening with like a lot of things in this space. So like even Ethereum, right? So like it's just expanding so quickly, they may not be able to like handle the demand, right? And so I just see that with like a lot of things, like platforms, they just don't know. So like for example, Twitter, what they were doing at the like over the past few months, they were just like banning people left and right because they don't even have the resources to just like warn you. So like if you do something that they don't like, just ban you completely, right?
Yeah.
And that's just because how fast things are going, they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about speed, and typically at the end of the episode, we get into random questions, which Scott has primed here. But before we get into that real quick, just one last NFT question. You said that, you know, the NFTs are moving fast, and a lot of things of what I see, at least on Twitter for me personally, is a lot of the people that, like the OG people that have been in crypto. I'm not going to throw names under the bus, but a lot of people they've been mining crypto since like the last bull run,
right?
Or even before that bull run, and they're like, well, you know, the NFT game is over. Like, we're past NFTs now at this point. It's something else. Like, do you feel that is the case?
Not at all. I actually think so. And I know that because Facebook, they're going against their own compliance rules. So they have this rule, for example, where like you cannot take people from an ad, you cannot take people to a domain that you don't own. But they actually broke that rule because they're trying to build Metaverse, and they know the way to build Metaverse is have all these NFT brands basically just market it for them, right? Because all these things, all these like characters of the games itself, the places like the casinos, the banks, there's another brand I work with that just have like handbags, all sorts of like things that are gonna be in the Metaverse is actually being advertised by these NFT brands. And so I think it just shows to me the fact that Facebook is just allowing this to happen, and they're just going out of their way to make it so that NFT brands can just advertise freely, which is unlike all the other platforms. You have to have like approval, you have to have a partnership with them. I think they know it's going in that direction. So if anything, I think NFT is just going to be massive in this year. And then also companies like, I have a rep, for example, with like LinkedIn as well. And I asked them, I was like, hey, is anyone running ads about NFT right now? Any companies? Because I wanted to see what big companies are going to do, right? Because I know like small businesses and big companies, they're going to make NFT part of their business. it's going to be part of their business in the, let's say, next 6 or 7 months. And like, for example, Visa, they've been running ads about NFTs on LinkedIn, right? Which makes me think, I'm like, oh, they're already thinking about this. They're already doing the awareness right now. They're going to roll out something, right? So it's just like how Samsung, Atari, all these places, they have bought their places in Decentraland or Sandbox. I think they're going in that direction. They're gonna do something with it, and all these companies cannot be all of them wrong, right? It just doesn't make sense. No. They've already made so much investment into this. It's gonna be big this year, but it may be crowded, but it's definitely gonna be big. So I think the opportunity is going to be amazing.
Great. So we're going to have Visa credit card debt in the metaverse. That sucks. So
they follow you around everywhere, right?
You can't escape it. You can't just put the headset on. All right. So we're going to end it with our 3 questions that we normally do, just crazy random questions. Would you ever, or have you ever, considered writing someone in jail, having a pen pal in jail? Do you have any time to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I had this landlord years ago when I was living in LA area, and he would just like, I think it was just, he was just like just didn't have a good attitude with anyone, and I don't know how this guy was just doing business all the time, like for years. Like he was just, I met him like years later, like almost 10 years later. He was just exactly the same, and I was like, this is really weird. Like, how come this guy like never changes, like never becomes like better person? But anyways, yeah, that would be the person. So
that would be, so your landlord would be a pen pal.
So you
would pen pal him in prison to find out how he's doing. Nice. All right, that's cool. What is the most ridiculous fact you know?
Oh,
maybe some crazy knowledge that you can just drop on people sometimes that you know. Someone's like,
I mean, I worked at cybersecurity a lot, and just one of them was led by former director of NSA, and so, I mean, the things that I see we're going toward as far as like how much of, the password less like movement of like you don't have passwords, but like you can, by the way, the rhythm that you actually type, they're gonna be able to understand if it's the right person or not.
Oh wow.
Right? So like cool things like this, I think those are like
cool,
really
scary,
weird, and that's where we're heading, right?
Great.
I thought you were gonna say something about like, facial recognition.
We already have
it's gonna get a little better, and all of a sudden it's how you type. Something we haven't heard before.
That's scary.
Yeah.
The machines.
Yeah.
The machines are going to get us. All right. Yes. And
in the metaverse.
Yeah. Them and Visa. All right. Have you ever been attacked by an animal? If so, what was it?
Oh, a bear.
Wow.
So I live in Canada, Vancouver. That's the place
that
where
makes sense.
You want to be attacked. You should just come to Vancouver. You will be. So, yeah, I actually was just sitting in my dad's place. This was like a few years ago, and I remember just like working on my laptop, and I just looked around, and I just sensed something, like it was like there, like in my, like, in my presence, and then there was this massive bear that was like halfway inside our doorstep, and then it was just looking at me. And the weirdest thing that I did was I just stood up and I ran toward it, and it actually got the bear scared and then left. But then after that, I was thinking, if the bear wasn't gonna leave, like what was I gonna do?
Yeah, that could have backfired.
So yeah, that's the
because I also hear they're opening doors now, cars. So that's.
Yeah, they're very smart. Yeah, they're very smart. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
That's hilarious. Well, you gave us your link to your job posting on Fiverr, which I'm going to post in the comments below on YouTube, and then when we post this on all the podcatchers, you'll have it in the description and everything like that. But where can we find you social media wise, or any of the other stuff?
Yeah, so I'm actually just building. I've been building a lot of people's social medias, and I just actually started building my own. So on Instagram and Twitter, Fortune 500 Marketer. So at Fortune 500 Marketer. Yep, you guys can't find me, and I'm pretty active. I'm gonna be posting a lot about NFTs that I'm flipping, and I started already telling people, be like, hey, go buy this NFT, you make money, that kind of stuff. And then also NFT marketing too. So just posting a lot of content, and I think it's gonna be valuable too.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
On that note, Amigos out.
This has been the Amigos PC. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review us on all your podcasting platforms. And visit us at Amigospc.net. Get our entire library of content and Amigos merch. Till next time, adios.